Also new to our studios, multiple shots were fired in central Corpus Christi earlier this morning, leading to a hunt for those responsible. 911 calls came in after 1. Officers arrived at Shawnee and Lou Streets to find bullet casings littered on the ground. Investigators say someone pulled a gun and started firing off several rounds after a fight broke out between two groups. No one was injured. About half a dozen shell casings were recovered. You're asked to call 361-886-2600 if you have any information that could lead to an arrest.